Today I have some giant ape stories from the 1930s and 1940s. Hi, I'm Annie and it is Giant Ape-Ril as it is still April. And this is a reading event that is hosted by Roy at Roy Reads Anything, co-hosted by Duncan at Back Away from the Donkey, and also co-hosted by me. And the whole of the month of April we read giant ape and other monster related fiction and non-fiction. Think King Kong, the Bigfoot, or the Yeti, but also other giant monsters like Godzilla. But I read about some other giant apes, some vintage giant apes, and all of these apes bring bad news. But not all is bad news, because all these three stories are free and available to read on our Project Gutenberg or the American Archive, as the copyrights have expired. I'll put the links to them in the description box below. I'll start with one that I found the most entertaining, and that is Manape the Mighty by Arthur J. Burks. This story was first published in Astounding Stories in the June issue of 1931. Lee Bentley and Alan Easterbrook are shipwrecked and washed up on shore of a seemingly uninhabited island. Uninhabited? Well, it seems that way, but when they escape the anthropoid apes that roam around on this island, they come in contact with a mad scientist, a mad professor, and he conducts these tests on these giant apes, these anthropoid apes. As the story starts with a teaser, we know what kind of trouble Lee Bentley is going to get into, so it's not so much about that. It's more about how he is going to get out of this mess. And I found this a highly entertaining story. There is a decent amount of suspense in it, and there are bits that are laughable now, like they are Lee Bentley is very concerned that some human, that I don't want to spoil the story, but that a human has sex with an ape, which is laughable now, but in the 1930s was a reason for serious concern. Then I read another giant ape novella, and that is the Ape-Men of Xlotli, and that is written by David R. Sparks. And this is first published in Astounding Stories of Super Science in the issue of December of 1930. Our leading man is on the run and ends up in this fantastic environment, this fantastic world. And there are a lot of damsels in distress. And in this society, it is customary to sacrifice a woman every year to the Ape-Men of Xlotli. And this society, there are a lot of women in this society, mostly women in this society, and these women are ruled by a couple of old men. When these women see our hero end up in their world, they see in him a new leader who can help them get rid of these old men who decide that they have to sacrifice a woman every year. They're fed up with it. Although these women seem to be coping fine in their revolt and in fighting these ape men before our hero appears on the scene, they still need a man to get them out of trouble, or to help them get to their main victory. But hey, it was the 1930s, and probably the most readers of Astounding Stories of Super Science in 1930 were men anyway, and of course men like to see themselves as the hero. So yeah, but there are some strong female characters in this story as well, so I like that very much. And last I read War of the Giant Apes by Alexander Blade, and that was first published in Fantastic Adventures, April 1949. Our hero, Dan Moran, is assigned to get a big ape from Mars. Apparently, on Mars, there lives a big tribe of big apes. And he is in love with Jean, and Jean is a journalist. But he has a rival, and that is Blake Fenton. He is also in love with Jean. And it is Fenton's idea to get this big ape from Mars, as he has invented this brain Thera ray machine, which can influence the minds of these big apes. So he can control not only the thoughts of these apes, but also their actions. And of course, you know in advance that as soon as this big ape lands on Earth, there are all kinds of problems. But this is not your regular story of a big ape wreaking havoc on Earth. This is an entirely different kind of sort of problem that our hero Dan Moran has to deal with. I found this a very entertaining story. You can read, like I said, you can read all of these stories for free. I will put the link to them in the description box below. As always, thanks for watching.